Assalamu alaikum. Hello. This is the second lecture, the continuation of word formation processes in general linguistics for the third year. Now, continuing with these processes from which words are composed, let's start with the process of compounding. Compounding, again, is one of the most significant processes from where we can get words into the language. By definition, it is the process where words are composed of two different words that are joined together to denote one thing, and the meaning of denote here to give meaning of one word. Now, when we have two different words, each of them has its own meaning. Each of these words has its own meaning. Then then it is different from having two different from two words having a different denotation, and this is the combination or compounding. Why compounding? Because it is a free morpheme plus another free morpheme to give us one compound morpheme or word. Now, if we take this example, flower pot, of course it is a compound word made of two words, flower and pot, the container of flower. This does not denote two things or two different meanings. Rather, it denotes or it means, it gives the meaning of one item, one entity, which is different or related somehow to the meaning or denotations of these two components of this compound word, of these two words of flower and pot. Now, flower pot is not it is related to flower and pot, but it is not the combination of these two, the meaning of these two words. It gives a separate independent meaning, a separate independent meaning, and this is obvious by the pronunciation of such a process, such a word which comes from such a process. How we can say that the pronunciation of this word or of this unit, so to speak, because it is a combination of two words and we cannot say there are two words, it is a unit. So the pronunciation of this unit is pronounced as one unit rather than two units or two words. Now, if we say a flower pot, we cannot say flower pot, no, flower pot. Or white house, it is white house, greenhouse, and so on and so forth. Why? Because the source of this word is a combination of two words. However, it produces one entity, one unit, one word, which must be treated as one unit in language, just like the other words. So in terms of pronunciation, in terms of spelling, in terms of meaning. Okay, so this is the idea of compounding. Compounding is a good process, is a nice process to have words, and we have these the compounding of words all along the changing of language. And nowadays we can say the COVID-19, which comes from different words and combined in it to give the acronym, which will be discussed in this lecture. Now the second process is called blending. Now compounding, this is important. Compounding is a process where a word is produced through a combination of two separate words, to give one word which is irrelevant, which has different meaning although it is relevant. However, a blending is not a combination of two words. No, it is the fusion of two words into one. The compounding is the combination of two words, while a blending is the fusion of two words into one. There we bring two words and combine them as they are to give a different meaning. Here, no, we fuse two or more words to give one word. This means certain parts of each of the fused words are deleted or omitted. Usually the first part of one word is taken to be fused with the last part of another word. For example, the gasoline, gasol, or which comes from gasoline, and alcohol, and so on. In Arabic we have ركوب الأمواج, which yields the kind of sport which is called rakmaja. So blending is very similar to compounding, but it is characterized by taking only parts. So compounding, as we said, it is not taking part, it is taking the whole words and combining them together to give a compound meaning. While blending, the matter is different, because we take parts of the combined words to fuse them and yield one separate word with separate meaning. Clipping is another source of words. Is another source of words where words are shortened or reduced. Words are shortened or reduced. So this is a process where words are shortened or reduced, especially the long words, to give new different words. And these new different words, by the way, can be changed in terms of meaning and denotation through time. So with the passage of time, instead of saying information, you can say info. Instead of saying for your information, you can say for FYU, and so on and so forth. So the importance of clipping is to give you new words, and these new words can have different meaning with the passage of time, and this process consequently can bring new words to language. And there are certain examples such as information, which is clipped into info, advertisement, which is clipped into ad, or influenza, which is flu. Okay. Now the next process, which is the backformation. The backformation is tricky a little bit. It is a process in which a word changes its form and function. A word changes its form and function. It is a word, it is the same word, but it is backformed in terms of form and function. Let's see how. For example, the English word arms, meaning weapons. This word was backformed to arm, which means to provide weapons. So from being a noun in terms of form, it is now a verb in terms of form. So the function of the noun, of course, differs from the function of the verb. So the function and the form are backformed or changed, backformed. For example, edit was backformed from editor. Edit was backformed from. Why backformed? Because it is unusual to have editor before edit. It is unusual in the language to have the noun before the verb. We always say that the verb is the center of everything in the sentence, in the language. But it is some kind of weird to have editor, and from editor we back form the verb. Okay, we back form the verb. So that's why back formation. The next is conversion. This is different from the one before, which is the back formation. It is the conversion or changing of the class of the word or the word class, but without changing the form. Back formation changing both the form and the function. Here only the class of the word. For example, noun to verb. For example, bottle. The wine was brewed in France and bottled in Hong Kong. You see, so the bottle is noun. We convert the noun bottle into a verb, bottled. Okay, but the form is the same. There's no difference unless we add the verb inflections. Or butter. Don't butter the bread for me. It is a noun, butter, but here it is used in the sentence, don't butter the bread for me. It is used as a verb. Or verb to noun, hit. He scored a hit. Now hit is usually a verb. Now here we convert it into a noun, and so on and so forth. This is a process of having new words to the language. The acronyms or acronym is a word formed from initial letters. As I said, the COVID-19, the initial letters of coronavirus 2019. So it is the word formed from initial letters of a few words in a phrase or in a name. So this is for the ease of use and pronunciation, which is one of the characteristics of language change. And here it is a process in terms of morphology. It is a process of having new words. Now some acronyms are pronounced by saying each letter separately. For example, CD, DVD, DVR, VCR, IBM, etc., FBI. However, there are certain words, certain acronyms where within the acronyms there is a vowel or there are certain vowels. Here, the existence of vowels gives the opportunity to pronounce these acronyms as a word. Why? Because we will have the change of sounds which is pronounceable. For example, NATO, laser, AIDS, COVID-19, and so on and so forth. Derivation, which is the most important process in in word formation, it is used to be the counterpart to inflection and derivation. Now, when we talk about morphology, we would have two main processes. One of them is inflection, and the other is derivation, which is hugely expanded in terms of having new words and as derived from different word classes. So the most common, this should be there, the most common word formation process in English language. It is achieved by adding suffixes. Here الاشتقاق يعني we add suffixes to the words. The suffixes can be prefix at the beginning of a word, suffix at the end of the word, and infix which is inserted inside a word. In English, prefixes include, for example, re, un, nis, pre, and so on and so forth. Suffixes such as full, less, able, or, and so on and so forth. So the derivation is detailed in the next chapter, in the lectures to come. However, we can say that derivation is one of the processes and the most significant processes through which words, through which language can be enriched with new words. There is the last one, which is multiple processes. Now, we have been mentioning at least 8 processes, and these 8 processes can be combined all together to give one word, to give a word, or some of them can be combined to yield a word. So some of them or all of them can combine to. So now this process is called multiple processes, or multiple process, where words are formed through multiple processes. For example, Delhi is borrowed from German, Delicsten, and then clipped into Delhi. So internet is a product of clipping, international plus not work, blending it is clipped and then blended into internet. So two different processes are involved here. That's all for the continuation of the next second part of the word formation process. I hope I've made myself clear, and I hope you will understand this lecture. Again, if you have any inquiry, any question, any addition, any suggestion, you may contact me online. That's all for me. Thank you very much.